you came to me with the idea of creating a certification. And at first I said, no, there's too many certifications out there on the market, and there's the vegan seal, and I don't know, but then I started getting asked about it from our members. And members said, well, we might have the vegan seal, or other members said, well, we don't really want to use the word vegan, we really like the word plant-based, and it needs to have meaning. So that's what helped, and between Nova's leadership and our members asking for it, we did it. So talk about, from your perspective, seeing a lot of these certifications, how that helps define the category, what it says about the industry sector.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I work for an organization that's a public health and safety organization, and we specialize in creating these types of standards and then verifying claims or providing certification. And these are critical elements of the infrastructure that's needed to actually support markets. Markets don't function very well in a Wild West type of environment for very long. So I came to Michelle because I had been seeing the growth across all the categories, as some of the other presenters have mentioned. And I was seeing this explosion of product innovation and the investment money, many of the top 10 reasons that Michelle mentioned. And I was also seeing the risk of this quote unquote plant washing, because a lot of these brands were using very different types of claims on the front of pack. And so I knew that we needed to build this type of infrastructure to create a long-term sustainable growth platform for the entire space. And so that's what we did. And the other importance there is that when you build a standard that's backed up by a front of pack logo and mark, you sort of create a there. And we knew that the growth in this marketplace was really not necessarily with vegans or those trying to eliminate meat entirely, as Michelle mentioned, but a much broader audience. And we wanted to be able to invite those people in with a new sort of name and identity. And when you have that front of pack label, you build sort of food tribes and you build that sense of identity, and it's very open and inclusive. So that's why we suggested this. And I can also share that there's quite a bit of evidence that front of pack labels also increase sales. I'd be interested what Anne has seen, but our surveys indicate that consumers recognize that independent verification instead of just a self-declared claim, and there's a lot of trust in that. So you can look at the success of non-GMO or gluten-free claims or the organic claim, for example, which has helped those products with those attributes across all categories sell better.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was also a really great exercise for us, and we collaborated with folks at NSF even to create the definition, right? Because it raised a lot of interesting questions. Does it mean vegan? And now I have to explain. Well, of course, it means vegan in the sense that there's no animal products in what our certification. But we realized that it actually is different than vegan, and that was important too, because a product can be vegan but not actually plant-based, right? If you think about it, it just means the lack of an animal ingredient. It doesn't tell you what the product is made from. So it's important for us for plant-based to mean made from plants, right? And so, and then that created some questions around, well, what about additives? Because some companies are using certain additives for various reasons. So we created a 5% allowance for that. But that means, but it's all still free of animal ingredients, but 95% of the certified products have to be made from plants. And so I think of it as really vegan plus, when, some people out there say, oh, plant-based is just, a lesser version of vegan, not the way we define it, and not for our members. So that was an important piece as well.
Maybe I'll just chime in there. I think that's also really interesting. I'd like to see the consumer awareness of the claim evolve over the time and see if this proves out. But we chose the claim name and the language very specifically to accentuate the positive, what's in the product. Again, to be able to invite a broad audience of people who might just trying to be shifting their diets to more plant-based foods, and not necessarily identifying with eliminating all animal products entirely. And the vegan claim, although successful, does sort of have that what's not in the product connotation, whereas plant-based is much more accentuating the positive attributes.
Exactly.